Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast. Presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Josh of MitsuTimes. Today my guest is Mr. Chance Aubrey. He is oftentimes the lifesaver at the shootout. How you doing today, Chance?
Doing great. How about yourself, Josh?
Man, I'm great. Not only am I riding the high of the shootout still, but also of seeing your car in person for the first time. Man, you really built a masterpiece.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of work over the years, but it's been worth it. It's my baby, so I'm happy that it's finally actually doing cool stuff now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure just looking at it was great, but then getting it, in action again has got to be even better.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming, and luckily I've had a lot of support all along the way. So
good deal. Well, Chance, let's get right into it. Why don't you tell us about the setup of your beautiful 1G?
Well, it's right now it is on a what I call my all-out block because I've got two engines for the car. The one that is in it currently is a full fill block. It's built by Bushers. Both are. They're mostly similar in that they're both R&R aluminum rods, 10.5 to 1 compression. They're both stock cranks originally, but the one in my 3/4 fill engine is a knife edge crank as well. This one is just a stock crank. They're both GSC S3 cams. The other one is meant so that I can do drag and drive events.
Oh, cool.
This one is hopefully we're not there yet, but we finally got it working. So, but this one being full fill is more so just to make the all out passes. It is an O-ring block copper cylinder head gasket from Boost Performance. It's 8 1650 injectors. Transmission's a 2G Auto. 2G Auto's fully built. It's got pretty much everything you can put into it. JB drum, Kigley basket. It's JB output shaft. It's on a precision number 6 converter, which hopefully will go to a Circle D converter here soon.
Killer.
Seeing all the issues that those have brought up lately. But it's on a TMZ 300 MT case, running FuelTech FT600, completely custom wired and tuned and everything by Kevin Collins at Early Performance. He has been a godsend to our entire team. It's on a PTE Precision 7385 Next Gen. I made the manifold in my garage.
Wow.
That was a big project to undertake, but I had some help from my buddy Mike Lester, Mike at Bushers as well. He helped with the collector and wastegate outlets and things like that. So it's a tubular, completely removable front end. The entire front end unbolts off of the car. The only thing I really didn't fabricate on the vehicle was the roll cage, which when it comes to safety, I do not mess around. I sent that to Storm and Norman out here in Indianapolis. He's the one that did Matt Wheatley's car as well.
Oh, good deal. So that guy must have his hands on a lot of really beautiful Mitsubishis, it sounds like.
A couple, but mine apparently made his life very difficult. So he didn't want to do too many after that. He said unless the interior was removed. I had a completely full interior at the time, and that caused some headaches. But he was really good about it. He treated me amazing. So either this winter or next winter, when it's time for a 25.5, it's going right back to him.
Awesome. So you said you've been working on this car for a long time, and it sounds like a lot of your friends are 2G guys. What made you choose the 1G platform in the first place?
Well, I mean, first off, I'm a sucker for 90s cars. That's always been kind of my era of where the styling and the performance really, like the cars themselves, had a real big impact on me. That's why, like, I have two dailies because I drive a lot of miles, and one of them is my C5 Corvette, just because, again, that styling has a lot to do with my taste. But also, I bought this originally to be a winter car.
Oh, wow.
Which was a terrible idea considering how clean it was when I bought it. But, at the time, I had a BMW Z3M Roadster, which was not a good winter car. And my wife is awesome, so she took the fact that this had a back seat. Okay, I can drive the kid around, and it's all-wheel drive, so it should do okay. The thing is, the reason I kept it and went down the line as far as performance with it really has to do with the community. I met Mike Wagner from buying his old 6466 Turbo, and met a lot of people along the way that have had a really big influence on me. And meeting Devin, he originally, at Boost and Performance, he originally tuned the car when it was on an FP Black. Those guys made it so that I really wanted to go full bore. So the people really had the biggest reason as to why I kept going with the platform.
If you surround yourself by fast people, you'll go fast.
Absolutely. That's been the biggest token to my success, has been the people that I have around me. My team, my tuner, everybody is just, it's been the whole reason that the car has debuted as fast as it did.
Wow. That's good stuff. So I want to talk about the car when you first got it, because you said it was super clean. What all was done to it?
So when I bought the car, it was a one-owner car.
Wow.
Which is why I say it was a terrible thing that I wanted to daily it in the winter. All it had done when I originally bought it was a 16G turbo, which was overboosting terribly. That's actually the reason the first engine blew. And it also had an Apexi N1 exhaust.
Oh, wow.
That was it. It was still on stock wheels. I actually still talk to the original owner, named Jason. He originally had dibs on buying the car again if I ever wanted to get rid of it. But one, I'm obviously not getting rid of the thing. And two, we're a little far gone from the original $3,400 purchase price I bought it for.
I should say, yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. So, did you have any goals in mind? I mean, obviously, by the time you got the car, you probably had watched all the Fast and Furiouses and was ready to get it out on the streets. What was the plan when you got it?
Well, at first, as far as the performance side, my whole goal had kind of been, at that point, I hadn't been to the shootout yet. I'd had DSMs for a long time, but like it wasn't an event that I had really gone to. And so I really had a goal of I wanted to go and do the 950 class. And I wanted to do it as the ultimate sleeper. So I took a lot of pride in the fact that the car had the stock wheels on it. It had a completely full interior. The interior was absolutely mint, so I didn't want to put a roll cage in it. I wanted to make sure that it looked exactly stock from the outside. I even made sure it had a dual tip muffler so it was as close as possible to stock exhaust. But I wanted to make sure that I could run what I considered to be a kind of impossible fast time. Back then, I didn't think that the car would get to 950 for a long time. And it did take me a while, but it's a lot faster now.
Yeah, I should say. Definitely, you overshot your original goal.
Yeah, a little bit. It's this is actually setup number 5 on the car.
Wow.
And the worst part of it is that setup number 5 is the first setup to make a real pass.
No kidding.
Yep.
Man. And your first real pass, well, I mean, we'll get into it later, but man, yeah, you're killing it.
I appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about what it takes to build a car from your house in your own garage and then debut it straight into the 8s. That's insane. If someone told me they were going to do that, I'd say you're crazy.
Well, I mean, one of the things was I finally put a clear goal on the car. And my goal, because at that point I had just put the 850 cage in it, and when I put that in, I had a 6466 on the car. And I said, you know what? I want to go until I can make this cage illegal. So I Yeah, and I figured 850 is a really fast car. Fastest car I'd ever owned ran 923 at that point, and that was like 17 years ago. So I wanted to build it to go at least 850, go faster than that if possible. And then the experience that I have has played a real big portion into it, because originally I used to own a restoration shop. I went to Wyotech and did chassis fabrication and high performance engines, street rod and custom fabrication. So the ability to be able to do a lot of the major fabrication work has played into my ability to make it go fast quickly, because otherwise I quite honestly wouldn't have the budget to pay a shop to do that for me.
Oh, yeah. It gets expensive fast.
Oh, yeah, hugely expensive, especially, it's not cheap to pay somebody that's truly an expert in the field. It'd be worth it to send it to, Booston or AMS or, out to Early and let them build it from the ground up. But that's just a lot of money that, quite honestly, I have a family. I'd like to make sure that they get to have some fun as well.
Right. Definitely.
But that's been a big portion of it. And then I will say, again, the biggest thing was the people that I found, the crew that I have. Like, it kind of started at the MCR shit show in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of all got together at that point. That's when we all really met and hung out for the first time. And we all kind of peer pressure each other into putting more and more into our cars, and just don't quit. If something breaks, go bigger. And they have given me a wealth of knowledge, a lot of support, and we're all just each other's cheerleaders. So if somebody's testing and they're out in Ohio on my team, I drive to Ohio.
Wow.
And I go watch them. My friend Ryan, we had to do his tubular front end. I drove out to Ohio, brought my welder in the back of my wagon, and went for a weekend. But that's what we do for each other. We help. And finding a good tuner, Kevin has been huge. Kevin Collins at Early Performance. He tunes all of our cars on the team, and he just does an incredible job. It took him 5 total pulls on the dyno with a fresh wiring and a fresh ECU going to Fuel Tech to go from a blank slate to 940 wheel horsepower.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, big props to those guys.
Absolutely.
So, Chance, what did it mean to you to take your car to debut for the first time at the pinnacle of our community, the shootout?
That genuinely meant absolutely everything to me. I organized my entire year car-wise around the shootout. If my car runs no other time of the year, I will thrash. I will throw all the money I can at it. I will spend all the time that my wife allows, which, quite honestly, she does not police me on that at all.
Good deal.
I will do everything I can to make sure that the car runs for shootout, because, between me trying to race the car, me supporting my friends and going and, of course, welding and, fixing everybody else's stuff while I'm at the shootout, it's my favorite place in the world. And I get to hang with, my race team, because some are in New York, some are in Ohio, some are here, like I'm in Indiana. Like the anti-lag guys, they're practically family at this point. All the guys that I've really gotten to meet over the years, if I'm going to debut a car, if I'm going to, try to get my personal best, I'll send the rods through the block to do it at shootout.
That really tells you how much that event means to us.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool. So, Chance, you spoke about it a little bit, but what does it mean to you to be able to race at the shootout instead of, having to work on it? Not having to, but I don't know. Instead of having to worry about everyone else's car, you got to just worry about your car for a change.
I will say it's a different kind of good. They're both good. I walk away from the shootout every year extremely happy. But to be able to have my own achievement this year meant a lot. I started with the welding and fixing everybody's stuff. Also, again, at the 2020, the MCR shootout or shit show. because actually my buddy Ryan Caldwell, that's on my team, he wanted swing outs in his cage. So he bought the swing outs. I brought my TIG welder, and right in the parking lot at MCR, we cut into the cage and put swing outs in his car.
Oh, wow.
And I told Kevin to let people know, Kevin Jewer, to let people know over the radio that, hey, if anybody needs anything fixed, I've got a welder. I'll do it for free. And I got to help a couple of people, and I got the idea, like, if I bring it to shootout, it seems like nobody brings their welder to shootout. And, I can imagine somebody's going to need something fixed. Mm-hmm. And I consider it my racing karma. If I help everybody else, hopefully my car will run well. Right. And then if it does need something, it's become extremely true. This year, if my car needed anything, you watch my entire team would just jump in. I don't have to ask anybody. They all want to help because they know I help them at any point that I can. But this year, to actually be racing instead of that has meant everything to me. Because, no matter what, I'm busy at shootout, and my wife barely gets to see me. But if you watch the video that most people have seen that for my 856 run, mm-hmm. That's my wife filming, and you can hear her scream at the end because she knows, how hard I've been working for this, and how long I've wanted to run my best times at the shootout specifically. And I got to do that in almost picture perfect scenario.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I would say it seems like it takes the pressure off of you, but really it doesn't. I mean, if anything, it may be even more pressure.
Yeah, you're not wrong, because, the car did so well first event that, we know there's so much left on the table. We still have 25 PSI left on the table.
Wow.
We still are on super low ignition timing. We have the nitrous on only for 1.5 seconds at this point. So we have all the settings left to go to try to push this thing into the sevens. So we know it should do it. Now it's just the case of me being able to actually push it there.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too sidetracked, but how it must feel just crazy to debut your car and then jump straight to that number 18 on the 1G list, surrounded by just absolute legends. You're 9 1,000ths away from passing Dave Ruby. I mean, I talk about it all the time on this podcast, that the 1G list is the most competitive. Even though you see a lot of the guys on there in the top 20, top 25 aren't racing anymore, they still set the time so high. And then here you come, jump straight into 18. That's crazy.
It was surprising, honestly, that my first runs were going to be that quick. Kevin was very confident that it was going to do something like that. But even he was really stoked at how smooth the car went. It was a really drama-free run. Car didn't dance, no spin in the tires, anything. It went a 134 60 foot the first time it actually went for a decent rip.
Wow. And
I have been inspired by so many of these guys for so long now that I can't help but just be really kind of taken aback by the fact that I'm in that same class. I don't even think that's real. I remember going to the shootout and knowing no one, and walking around and just kind of staring at all these cars that this car runs an 8. I can't imagine my car running an 8, and seeing all these crazy setups, and the fact that all these guys were actually really nice to me, even though I didn't know anybody, and I didn't have a name for myself at that point. And I come in and all of a sudden my car performs really well. So I'm just trying to do the same thing and make sure that, if anybody wants to talk to me or has questions or anything like that, that, I treat them the way those guys treated me, and make sure that I try to keep other people interested in the hobby and not think it's some social club they can't be a part of. Like, if you're a shootout, dude, come to my pits. Like, borrow a tool. Come ask me questions. Show me your car. That's the coolest part of it for me.
For sure. And I know it must seem odd to people from outside the community. Why would these guys all go to the middle of a cornfield in Ohio to look at cars that are exactly the same as the one they brought there? I don't know. That's just it's indescribable. I can't put it into words of how awesome it is.
Yeah, if you haven't been to Shootout, you don't know what you're missing. Like, I have been to crazy car events all over the world, or not over the world, all over the country. You know, I have raced radicals at the National Corvette Museum. I've run at Road of America. I've driven all sorts of exotics that you can think of, because I used to sell those. And I will tell you that between the cars, the racing, and especially the community, there is absolutely nothing that competes with the Shootout. And I got to say, like, to your credit, you were a big factor in the Shootout being as big and awesome as it was this year. Because, man, the quick class and Street 32, that was a heavy hitter class. And it hasn't been that way in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. I mean, just to see those guys back in action really meant a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it just means good things for the community and that event going forward.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to give too much away, but the 31st Shootout, me and Mike will be working together, so it's going to be even better.
Yeah, see, that's what I want to hear, because I'm telling you, I have plans for this thing for Shootout 2024 as well. It's going to be a big deal for me.
Heck yeah. Well, speaking of 2024, Chance, let's talk about your goals. I mean, golly, you must have already surpassed whatever you thought you were going to do. So what other goals do you have?
Yeah, I mean, for this year, I've honestly kind of hit my goals. Like, I'm gonna try to hit a couple of events, but the big thing for, like, the very end of this year and for next year is going to be to try to chase some ETs with my friends. I'm trying to treat it still like a hobby, make it something that I don't need to do, but I want to do.
Right.
Get together with my best friends and go to, like, Dragway 42, which for me is a 4-hour drive, but it means I get to be with my buddies when I race.
For sure.
And, you know, try to get to, bottom eights. I'd really love for the car to get there, but the big goal, the one goal that I have for next year that is my absolute one, is at Shootout, I want to get my 7. That's where I plan to do it. I'm not going to try to do it early. I'm going to try to get close, and then I want to get my 7 at Shootout.
Heck yeah.
What's going on, guys? This is Desmond here from Performance Destination. Just want to jump on here and say, if you're looking for any tuning, give us a call, contact us. Dyno-wise, if you're looking for a tuner remotely, contact us. We service the nation worldwide. Every state, every country throughout the Caribbean, everywhere worldwide, we are connected with everyone. Whether it's a standalone computer system, AEM, Hall Tech, Fuel Tech, stock ECU, your DSM, your Evo, 5 or 6, 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s. We tune them all. We specialize in all the computer systems. We meet the needs of all of our clientele. If you would like to reach us, you can give us a call at 941-268-7493, or you can catch us on our website at performancedestination.com, or reach us on all platforms at Performance Destination. You can either check out our YouTube channel as well, so you can see our work.
You got any World Cup goal aspirations in there?
Well, so I may. I got to see how well the car does next year. But, I used to think it was kind of unfeasible that I could go to World Cup. But the car has really given me a lot of confidence this year, seeing how smooth it went and, how much potential it really has. So, between myself and my team and my tuner, I think that we really can make that work, but we got to see how the rest of the year goes and what the rules that they come out with are for next year to see if I really fit in a good class. But God, that would be a good goal for it.
Absolutely. And Let's say you do get that low 7 at the shootout, qualify for the class at the World Cup, and now you're rubbing elbows at the World Cup with the likes of Aaron Gregory and Rich Ong and those guys out there really doing it. Like, man, that's just something else. That's a dream.
Yeah, and it's something that I genuinely, like, if you asked me 3 years ago, I would have told you something like that would be physically impossible for me. Because I don't have the pedigree those guys do. Those guys have been doing it for decades, like racing at a high level in these cars. I've raced in other cars, but I'm not the expert. And I coach people for a living. My theory is if I'm not the expert, I shut up and listen. And so I have to listen to a lot of people. But for me to be even remotely compared to those guys is a huge honor. I've gotten to meet Aaron quite a few times, become friendly with him. He helps me with my transmission and stuff like that. And Rich Ong has become actually a real good friend of mine. I talk to him on a regular basis, and those guys are just so impressive. Rich's car is a work of art.
Absolutely.
So for me to be even on the same plane as those guys is just not something I really ever expected to be possible. So if I get to get to that arena and, like you said, rub elbows with those guys, I don't know how many times I'm probably going to ask my wife to pinch me that weekend.
So, Chance, do you have a number? We talked about the 7 second. Is that going to be the long-term goal?
Long-term wise, for right now, like the plan is to have the car kind of live in the low eights, bottom eights, just because for, some local events and things like that, that would be a really, really competitive number. But the real goal in the end is if I can get some sponsors, then yeah, to kind of chase the area of, Rich Ong. I don't know about Aaron Gregory. That's a goal that I don't. You got to be superhuman to go after Aaron.
Absolutely.
But certainly Rich Ong. That's a guy that I really kind of idolize as far as this DSM scene. And if I could get there, I think that would be a really good guy to try to compete with on a really friendly level. Because actually, if my car hadn't puked fluids right before the first round of racing in quick this shootout, then I would have had Rich as my first one, and he was actually really excited. Yeah, he came running up to me. I think I got you for my first race, and it's like, man, I just pulled out because I wasn't gonna take the risk of putting it into a wall because fluid got onto the side of the tire.
Oh man!
And if it's getting there, there's a chance it can get under it. And at my first event, I'm not putting it into a wall.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, but we found the cause of that. We're gonna be all good going forward. So
awesome. Well, Chance, you have obviously very valuable expertise and knowledge to debut a car into the eights. If someone out there is listening, they're currently building their 1G, hoping for some big numbers. Do you have any advice you'd give them for their build?
Yeah. Biggest thing you can learn from my mistakes, I guess you would say, is don't go too big too fast, because I watch a lot of guys that the car lives on jack stands, and you don't get to really enjoy the car. I went straight from nothing to a 134 60 foot, and that sucker blurred my vision. So, but what ended up happening was I went through 5 setups, and it cost me a lot of money and a lot of time. And, if people want, this isn't a brag, this is a warning. I have a spreadsheet I can show you where I've got just shy of 140 grand into this car.
Wow.
And that is not a wise decision. I could have built this for far less to its current setup, and learned a lot more along the way had I done it properly, and either started with a clear goal of this is what I'm building first time, or started slow and upgrade little by little over the years and actually race the car. So my way, I don't know, is the smartest as far as money or fun. But I will say, as far as the debut, if you're looking for a crazy debut, it's a pretty good formula. But the biggest thing I will tell anybody is find a good tuner. Find a good tuner with a really good reputation. Don't everybody use Kevin Collins, because I need him for myself.
Right.
But I will tell you, him and Early Performance are just, again, godsends to us and our whole team. But when you get a good tuner, listen to them, because I had Haltech Nexus in the car last year, and Haltech Nexus is a great system. I am not knocking it. Haltech makes great products, but he prefers Fuel Tech. And my whole team now is on Fuel Tech. So I listened to him. And last year I had a lot of struggles with the car, with transmission control and things like that. And this year, immediately, no issues, ran perfect. I'm not saying it's the best system by far, but it works for us, and it's what he knows really well.
Yeah.
So when you get a tuner that they say this is what's definitely going to work for you, listen. That's what you buy. That's what you use, and I promise you, it'll go a lot smoother that way.
Yep. People have said on here before, don't buy your ECU until you buy your tuner.
Yep, 100%. I have learned a lot from Kevin over time, and he is the last person that's ever going to tune my cars, because I'm never going to find anybody else. If my AMG all of a sudden is getting new turbos, I'm going to send it to him all the way out in Pennsylvania. I'll trailer the car out there for six hours to make sure that he's the one that tunes it.
Heck yeah. Well, Chance, you talked about having some DSMs in the past. Is there any that stand out that you want to talk about?
So really, I only had one before, and it was like my biggest impact as far as any of the cars I've owned. Mm-hmm. And I've had more cars than I am years old. So it's been an addiction for a long time.
Heck
but
yeah.
This car really made a mark on me. So my summer, right after I graduated high school, and before I went to Wyotech, I bought a 1990 Plymouth Laser RS Turbo from a guy that had put these god-awful ugly 18s on it, and the car rode terribly. He had cut the springs, and the car literally sat on no suspension whatsoever. And I bought the car, and it had some mods in it. It idled really rough. We found out it had some big cams in it. This was back in 2005, so there weren't too many choices for cams back then.
Yeah.
But it had a really just choppy idle to it. It sounded amazing. But it ran really rich to the point where it would just blow a ton of black smoke. And me not being the smartest of people at the time as far as DSMs go, I bought, those old just air-fuel ratio gauges, not even a wideband?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I put one of those in the car, found out the car was running pig rich, which I should have known from the black smoke. And my solution, because it was only went under wide open throttle, I put a boost controller on it, turned the sucker up to 26 psi,
of course,
and it ran really, really well. So we went with that for a few years, and I hurt all sorts of feelings out at Wyotech for nitrous third gen Camaros. I'm sorry, all sorts of people that just didn't expect this little front-wheel drive Plymouth that had the worst spider crack black paint job on it of all time, that it would do any type of damage. But it embarrassed some people that had a lot more money into their cars. So sadly, 1 week before I graduated Wyotech, I shifted 1.2, of course, at wide open throttle because I was an idiot, and snapped the subframe around the steering shaft. I put it at my friend's garage, who I thought was my friend, and he got paid to let people park that sucker out without my knowledge.
Oh, jeez.
So I lost the car, and that's kind of why all of a sudden, when I wanted a winter car, my wife said, "You know what? You always said you wanted another Mitsubishi," and she's the one that suggested it, and it just tumbled downhill, obviously.
That little snowball turned into a giant one.
Oh yeah. We made a snowman out of that snowball real quick.
So, Chance, what events can we see this beautiful 1G in action at for this year and next?
Well, so around here, it's probably going to be like Wild Wednesdays at Lucas Oil. I may try to bring it to, if there's any others. I haven't seen any be advertised lately, but there is a local no prep company, Hoosier No Prep, that actually doesn't penalize all-wheel drive cars the same as most do.
Wow.
So I'd like to, because they're nice enough to do that, I'd like to go patronize some of their events. A lot of them are at Muncie and stuff like that. So I'd like to go do some of their events. Also at Dragway 42 out in Ohio. I'll probably do a couple of test and tunes with my friends just because, again, that way I get to be with them. I encourage anybody that's in that area, if you want to come hang out, I'm generally going to put something on my Facebook that I'm going to run. And I will happily hang out with whoever wants to come. But you mentioned World Cup. If the car's doing incredibly well, World Cup may be in the cards. We'll see for next year. I would really love that, but hopefully a sponsor or two comes on board and allows me to help with that. But biggest one is always going to be Shootout. Right. Everybody knows I'm going to be at Shootout. That's where most of my exposure for the year happens, where I get to meet everybody. But that's, of course, a no-brainer. I can be going through a whole lot, and that's still going to happen.
That's so cool. I'm glad that, a lot of the fast Mitsubishis, we see them out maybe once, twice a year, 3 times. And I'm glad that you're going to be out there actually stretching our legs.
That's what I'm trying. That's why I got as many spare parts as I do is, I don't want to let it sit in the garage. It sat for so long that I can't continue to do that all the time. Yeah. I want to make sure that it gets to race, it gets to be competitive, show what I've built, and show what the car can do.
That's so cool. So, Chance, where can people find and follow you on social media? And hopefully some of the sponsors can come check you out.
So on Facebook is just my name. It's Chance Aubrey. You'll see me. It's generally some type of picture, either me in a racing seat or in my racing suit, because I became a meme while at Shootout this year while I was taking conference calls in my racing suit. But also on Instagram, I am unreliable_racing. I've been trying to be good lately about putting some content out there. I've actually started a YouTube channel, but I haven't put a video out yet. I've just named it Unreliable Racing. And the goal is this winter, with the collected GoPro footage and everything from Shootout, from dyno videos, and as well as hopefully the next couple of events between myself and my team, that we start to put some videos out there for people to enjoy, kind of like, Aaron from Aaron's Big 16G and stuff like that. To just put some content out there and show what it takes to keep one of these cars alive and make it go fast.
Gotta love. I would love to just see more DSM stuff out there on YouTube. Yeah, and Miguel DSM does a good job. He actually got some cool footage of my car this year. So I'd like to increase that and just make sure that people know that these cars are still as dangerous as they always were in the scene, and that everybody should come to the Shootout, because that's my biggest thing. I want to make sure that event gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year, and I think the cars performing is the best way to do that. No doubt about that. I think even though not a lot of Honda guys came out to take us on, or Subaru guys, I think they might have got the message that even though they won, we're not just they're not just going to come run over us.
No, and even though they won, we're not mad about it. We want them to come. We want it to be a competitive event. Next year we're going to get them, but by the same token, I like seeing that we get really fast people to be competitive against, because that's what we need is good racing.
That's what keeps us competitive.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Chance, I know you got a lot of people to give thanks to, so I'll let you get started. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out first and foremost is my wife. She is my biggest supporter, my cheerleader. She never questions the money I put into the car, the time I spend in the garage. She always jokes that there's worse things I could be doing, and she always knows where her husband is. He's under a broken Mitsubishi in the garage. So my wife for sure, my kid as well. He's my big why. I try to show him that you can achieve a whole lot if you're really passionate about something, and you just put all the effort in that you can. And he's an amazing kid, so I have every reason to keep trying to push him. My team, Mike Wagner, Donnie Swick, Ryan Colwell, Alex, Brandon, Mike Lester. These are all the guys that support me year round. We talk every single day. And we have a chat that has, I don't think it's gone a day without being used since the 2020 shit show.
Nice.
And these guys are honestly some of my best friends at this point. We do boys weekends a few times a year. All our wives have their own group chat now. It's become a big thing. Kevin Collins at Early. And Kevin Kaltenbeck, Goonie. I forgot to mention him. I had listed him. He's on the team as well. Love Goonie. And Kevin Collins from Early Performance, again, just all the help I could ever ask for. And then the other ones that I've really become super close with over the years is the anti-lag guys. Jeremy, Warren, Andy, Dylan. Dylan even let me take a pass in his no MSG Evo last year.
No kidding.
He volunteered to let me do it again, and I bent his throttle pedal last year, just like I snapped the throttle pedal in my car this year.
Just don't learn.
Yeah, I may not be the best driver, but I want all of it.
Gonna get everything
but
out
anyway,
of it.
Absolutely. But all those guys have become basically family at this point, and I love the cars. That's what brings me to the scene in the first place. But by all means, the people are what keep me there. I have made some of the best friends of my life in this scene, and that's what's going to keep me pushing, is to be able to hang out with them, achieve what we want to achieve, and do big things together.
Heck yeah. Well, good deal. Chance, thank you so much for coming on here, man. It's always an honor to get to talk to you, either face-to-face, now over the phone, and I can't wait to see your car back in action.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me on. It was great to talk to you as well.
Absolutely. I'll see you at the track soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.